Welcome to the new RVN television show, What the Why? Conversations with all types of leaders from all different walks of life about what they do, why they do it, and how they figured out what it is they're meant to do. We are so excited you are joining us for our first episode. Maybe you're looking for something different in your life. Maybe you're considering a career or a life change. Do you feel stuck and want to know how to get unstuck? Maybe you found us by accident. By the way, there are very few accidents in life, so you were meant to find us. Whatever led you here, this is the show for you. And our first guest ever is Lisa Hilleren. She's CEO of Lisa Hilleren, LLC. Lisa is one of the most amazing people I've ever met, and I really don't say that lightly, contrary to what some people might say. In addition to her amazing personal journey and substantial experience in corporate training and development, Lisa is an accomplished writing and published author of a genre that she describes as transformational fiction. Lisa's personal journey of self-discovery began 20 years ago. We'll just leave it at 20 years.
Okay, thanks.
It was then when she learned the power of emotional intelligence, something that she has since taught to countless others in professional training roles. Lisa is passionate about sharing the knowledge and tools that help women and others to discover and embrace their authentic selves, and she has served as a transformational coach and mentor to numerous people, including to me, during some of the darkest times that I've experienced in my life, and some of the happiest too. Everyone has a story, and Lisa has no exception. She's been on quite the journey, one leg of which is approaching its end when she will complete her master's degree and add several more initials behind her name. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Lisa Hilleren to our show.
I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, and thank you so much for taking time for this enlightening conversation.
It's my pleasure.
All right, so let's jump right into the questions. You've had the journey.
Yes.
What did you start out wanting to be when you grew up?
I have no clue. I did not start out wanting to be anything. I grew up, I did not have a vision, I did not have a dream. I kind of knew I needed a job, got a full-time job. I fell into because I could type with a QWERTY keyboard. And ultimately what I found was that I loved training. I loved helping people, whether it was teaching them systems, teaching them products, teaching them how to do their job so they felt comfortable with it. So I knew I'd found my niche in helping people. From there, my life has taken several iterations, and what I ultimately found, and I know we'll talk about this a little more in depth, is that I want to help people on their journey of self-actualization because it was transformative for me. Once I learned emotional intelligence, I put it into practice, social styles, predictive index, any of those types of things. My whole life went leap years ahead in my career and everything. So I started out having no clue, kind of fell into what my passion was, but defined it along the way.
All right. And what three things do you feel contributed most to how you got to where you are today?
Again, I would say number one, emotional intelligence and understanding myself, becoming self-aware and self-managed. And part of becoming self-aware was realizing I had to understand what my worth was and believe in my worth in order to progress in life and really go after my passion and feel I was deserving of being successful in my passion.
Okay.
So emotional intelligence did that.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more for our audience?
Okay.
About what emotional intelligence is?
Sure. Emotional intelligence is a 4-quadrant process. And in the first quadrant, it's called self-awareness. And this is where you really dig deep and do the inner work for yourself of saying, what are my strengths? What are my challenges? Notice I don't call them flaws. I call them challenges. and looking at it, what are my belief systems? What are my cultural beliefs? It takes looking and being willing to go through the uncomfortable piece of saying, what makes me me? And coming to the point of accepting that. Accepting yourself as a whole, saying, this, I'm worthy, regardless of if I have challenges, because if we all strove for perfection all the time, none of us would ever make it. So it was huge to have that. Also, another big thing was discovering the victim or victor complex and understanding that if someone does not bring that to your attention, pretty much by your 15th birthday, you have decided which you're going to be subconsciously, and you live with that the rest of your life. Just to explain, a victim is one that sees obstacles as stumbling blocks. A victor sees them as stepping stones. So I literally had to shift from more of a victim mindset to a victor mindset. From there, the next step is, okay, how do I manage my behaviors? In the words of Popeye, I am who I am, but I can choose to behave different ways. And one of the things I chose to do was respond, don't react. And that was a huge thing for me. After that, you go on to how do you be aware of people around you? How are you and I different? How are you and I alike? How do our skills complement each other? And then ultimately, how do I manage socially? How do I persuade without authority? Those type of things. So those are the 4 quadrants of it.
Okay. And you've definitely faced a lot of different challenges
Yes.
in your life. You mentioned that it's a choice. Where did you find the courage to make those choices?
I think when sometimes the chips are down and you're at that precipice of change. Initially it was I have to make a decision. Do I stand and live by my character? Or do I fold and be a coward? And I made those choices. Later on, it became a proactive choice of saying, hey, I could make my life better by choosing to do this before I'm forced to a point of choice. And deciding ultimately what were my short-term and my long-term goals, and by my choosing, I could drive myself to them.
Wow. So let's talk about how you got to where you are today.
Okay.
Because you have your company. You decided to go back to school. You've been in a variety of different roles at a variety of different levels. And you made some interesting choices that are very consistent with what you've been sharing with us. So could you fill us in a little bit more about how you found your way to getting ready to finish your master's degree?
That was interesting. I went my whole life thinking I did not even need a bachelor's degree. And my father always told me that you need a 4-year degree, you need a 4-year degree, and it was almost in rebellion on him that I was like, no, I don't need it. And for many years, I was very, very successful without a degree. However, I got to the point in my life that I want to ultimately move from corporate America into consulting, and I knew I needed the credentials. I may have had all the experience, but I needed the credentials behind it. So I went back in my early 50s and looked into different colleges, and with a lot of support from my friends, went back, got my bachelor's at 55, and will be getting my master's at 59. So proof positive, at any age, you can go back and achieve things.
Happy dance.
Happy dance.
Happy dance. And you're going to this graduation.
Oh yes, I'm going to walk the stage for this one.
Yeah, which is awesome. Now this is an interesting question. Normally I wouldn't let people look at the questions in advance, but she's my first guest. So I gave her an opportunity, and one of the questions that you wanted me to ask you is, what is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Okay. And that is a great question. I think everybody needs to be comfortable looking at what went well as what went wrong, and what would you do different next time, because our failures are our greatest learning experiences, and we have to be willing to embrace that and really do a look back. And when I wanted to publish my book, one of the things, it was a very tough time in publishing. Amazon was just coming out. You could become self-published. I decided I was going to go all in and self-publish. The challenge with that is I jumped in both feet, and I was running my own website. I was running all of my own PR. I was running my own financials, my own analytics, everything. And it overwhelmed me. I was still working my full-time day job. I did not have time to write because I was doing everything else. So what I learned, and I still want to write, but what I learned was I probably will do more with blogging or short form writing, do it to supplement my business of consulting when I step back from corporate America, but also I'm going to wade into consulting. I'm not going to try to do it all at once. As I said, leap in the net will appear. I found out you kind of get tangled up in the net. So this time I'm going to work with people that can help me. I'm going to, give opportunities for work for other people and pay them for their strengths so that I can use the time for my strengths.
Which is great, because you're such a talented writer.
Thank you.
I got to read the book in advance. I own a copy of the book. This is a copy of the book. We talked about transformational fiction, which you've written other books, but this is really the perfect segue from who you are, standing in authenticity about being all about transformation, and then putting a fictional twist on it.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about how this book came to life?
Sure. I always find as a trainer, one of the big things they train us or teach you as a trainer is that storytelling is so powerful. And people will pay attention to storytelling in a way that they won't pay attention when you're trying to teach them from a textbook. So what I did was I imbued my love of fiction writing with my how do I help people. And what I did was I have elements of emotional intelligence in here. You see this character go from not being self-aware to becoming self-aware to becoming self-managed. And the big thing about her self-awareness is realizing she does not have to live by the social constructs that are put upon women, particularly. Mm-hmm. And so she casts those off. That's why she's casting off her fig leaf here. And she's going to live with more emotional intelligence. So instead of love compelling somebody to change, or in a moment discovering your conscience and changing, this is about a person discovering her self-awareness and her worth and saying, I don't have to believe what I was told I had to believe. I can live the way I choose to live. Awesome. And be authentic.
Awesome. And we're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to come back with more with Lisa Hilleren. Welcome back to What the Why? Conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do and why they do it. And right now we're speaking with my guest, Lisa Hilleren, CEO of Lisa Hilleren LLC. And she was just telling us about her journey and how she wrote a book. Part of a genre that she has labeled transformational fiction. The book is called Reconstructing Eve, and you were just explaining to us about how by reading this book, we actually go on a journey with the character of transformation. Is there could you elaborate a little bit more on that as I trip over my words?
It's okay.
Standing in my authenticity, yes. Tripping over my words. Yes. Okay.
I really had a lot of fun with this character, with Eve, especially around the concept of taking beliefs that are imprinted on us when we are young, whether it's cultural, religious, and I'm not saying cast off our religions, but questioning our beliefs, because how many of us ever step back and really look at our belief systems, or really look at maybe when you were a kid, someone told you, hey, you're dumb, or you're something, and you believed it. This is all about stepping back and realizing I have to know my worth. I get to decide my self-worth. And I have to believe in my self-worth, because if I don't, I'm going to sabotage my own success. So for me, all the whys in the world, all the passion in the world, I can have all of that. But if I don't believe in my own self-worth, I'm not going to let myself have that level of success that I want to achieve.
Which is actually, you may have just answered my next question, because my next question for you was, what does living your mission or core purpose mean to you?
It means that I have helped people. It's very fulfilling to me. If I help people in starting that journey, I am not their sage on the stage. I want to be their guide on the side.
I love that.
And help them go through, because you have to experience it for yourself. And that's why in the book, you're living it through Eve, but it's written in first person deliberately, so you're thinking of I. And for me, fulfilling my purpose is when I see somebody and I see the light bulb go on when they get that self-awareness, or they're willing to jump in there and do that really hard work of looking at yourself, warts and all, and saying, you know what? I love the warts. What I can change, I will. But what I can't, they're part of me, and it's what makes me me and unique.
So someone watching us right now, either in real time, when the show airs, or on demand, is sitting there in fear, not sure what to do next. What 2 or 3 things would you suggest to them regarding how they can move from a place of fear and feeling stuck to a place where they can find their purpose in life?
Great question. One thing I would say is be kind to yourself and listen to your own. The second thing would be, well, first thing, be kind to yourself the way you're kind to others.
Yeah.
Be as gentle with yourself as you do with others.
You're so right. One of my favorite new sayings right now is talk to yourself with the same kind of loving voice that you would talk to your pet. You're so beautiful. That's a great belly.
Yes.
You know, people say things to themselves they would never say to their best friend or loved one.
And that you segue perfectly into my second point. Listen to your self-talk. And say I knock over my cup of water. I'm going to say, oops, I made a mistake. I'm not going to sit here and castigate myself and say, oh, you dumb person, you knocked this over. Try to get away from negative self-talk. The more you do negative self-talk, the more it reinforces the sense that you're not worthy or you're not deserving. You want to have uplifting self-talk and positive self-talk. But by positive, I mean your glass is half full. It doesn't mean you're happy, happy, joy, joy all the time, because nobody is.
No, you're not talking about toxic positivity.
No.
This fallacy that you can be happy all the time.
No. So I think the third thing would be really start listing out what gives me joy. And finding out, the things, look back historically, what were you happiest doing? And how can you start chipping away and saying, how can I pursue that longer term, and what would it take in terms of having a coach, having different, what situation would it take to get there?
What question have I not asked you that you would like for me to ask you?
I guess, where do I go next?
Okay. Well, Ms. Lisa Hilleren, about to add 3 more initials behind your name, because we didn't even get a chance, and Lisa's going to be coming back in a future episode because we didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that she's a certified training development professional through the Association of Talent Development, an insurance designation, a number of other designations. But as you approach the completion of your Master's of Science, where do you go next?
Yes, and that is something I've thought a lot about, something that you and I have also talked about, and I'm really looking forward to moving towards a career in consulting. Moving back out of or kind of backing out of the corporate and moving more into a consulting where I can literally, And I love my job. I'm able to teach people different products and different things, but I really want to help them with their journey of transformation. So that's the next chapter.
So, let me ask you another interesting question. Someone wants to get into training or learn more about emotional intelligence, or they want to pursue a career similar to the variety of things you've done in corporate training. What advice would you give to them?
I did a lot on my own. I think many people believe that they've got to pay oodles of money that they don't have, and oftentimes it's textbook learning. There's a lot of academic books out there on emotional intelligence. If you just go online and Google emotional intelligence, they'll talk in layman's terms about the 4 quadrants. They'll talk about how you do each of them. Read up on that. Look for mentors. Start with your positive self-talk as we, do I look at things as if they are a stumbling block or a stepping stone? If I do that, one of the things I'll need to work on in order to be successful in my passion, whatever that is start working on that belief system. Working on the belief system that I don't have to be perfect. I used to put on my board, strive to be great, not perfect. And that was so, there's many things you can do on your own, and you can always enlist the support of someone that's a trusted friend, a partner, a coach, to help you, remind you when you're slipping up and say, wow, that sounds kind of negative, Lisa. How could you rephrase that? Or how could you do that to help you? Because it's behavioral change. And there are 4 steps to behavioral change.
Yeah.
And one is unconsciously incompetent. You may be unconsciously incompetent right now. You may never have heard of victor versus victim. Well, now you've heard and you're like, wow. So the next step is to become consciously incompetent. So now you're like, now I know I'm this. How do I move to the next step? And that is through practice and reminders and just training yourself over and over again to be consciously competent. And ultimately, you become unconsciously competent. So think of a baby. When a baby's born, baby has no clue it can't tie its shoes. It's just staring out into
It's just a baby.
It's just a baby.
Hi, I'm here, feed me.
Yes. So a little older, the baby may see mom or dad, family member tying its shoes, and it realizes I can't tie my own shoes. Baby becomes a toddler. Parent teaches them over and over how to tie the shoe. The baby gets down, but they got to loop, and
make the little bunny.
Yes, make the bunny. And that's when they're consciously competent. And ultimately, they're out running and playing. They notice their shoelaces untied. They reach down without thinking, they're talking, and run. And those are the 4 stages. And we have to do that the same way. So if you're seeing the victor-victim, today we talked about it. We made people aware of it. So now you may be aware you're consciously incompetent, and your next step is, how do I train myself to become competent?
And admittedly, one of the phrases that I got from you early on was, I don't have to be the best. I'm just trying to be the best me.
Correct.
So thank you so much for this enlightening conversation. And as I mentioned, Lisa is going to be joining us again in the future episodes. And you can reach Lisa through her LinkedIn page, as well as by emailing her. And I believe that information is going to be posted. You could also reach Lisa through this station, as well as through me as the host of the show. Lisa's the first of many inspiring guests we have lined up. Our guest for our next show is Dr. Candace Rossetti. She's the Dean of Internships and Career Planning at Rowan College of South Jersey. In addition to her passion working with young adults on their career paths, she has some unique talents that you'll have to tune in. See? Just own the mistake. You'll have to tune in to learn more about. What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m., on Mondays at 3:30 p.m., and will also be available on demand. Whether you're looking to make a change in your life career, big or small, please join us again for more inspirational and informative conversations with people who wanted to make changes, overcame their fears and obstacles to find their core purpose and live it.